Hello everyone, I wish you all a very happy new day. I am Alex. You may be surprised to hear me tell this story, but trust me, there are things that, if not said with your heart, no one can truly understand. Today I plan to go buy new clothes for baby Henry. Although Henry is not my biological child, in my heart, I always love and care for him as if he were my own flesh and blood. Looking at Tana carefully choosing each outfit for my child, I suddenly remembered the first days I met her. People still say that love is a miracle, coming when we least expect it. For me, the moment Tana entered my life was that miracle, but every sweet love must go through challenges. Will we be able to keep our happiness intact amidst the storms? Come with me to the end of this story. And if you feel sympathetic, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episodes. The city morning begins with the sound of car horns, the sound of street vendors, and hurried footsteps on the small streets. I, Alex, opened my eyes as the early morning sunlight gently filtered through the window, making the whole room golden. My daily habit is to reach for my phone, scroll through a few messages, a few notifications, but then I burst out laughing, because the person I wanted to talk to the most, Tana, did not have a phone. Not far from me, but in a completely different world, Tana had just woken up. There was no alarm clock, no good morning text, only the sound of roosters crowing in the garden, the scent of young grass after the night rain, and the pristine sunlight covering the farm. I knew that, while I was making coffee in the small kitchen, Tana was also opening the window to let the wind in, starting the new day by taking care of the green vegetable beds. Sometimes I think, if only Tana had a phone, so I could call her every morning, send her a greeting, or share the sunrise moment. But then I stop. Perhaps it is because she doesn't have a phone that Tana can maintain her peace, living slowly in nature, and that, in the middle of this noisy city, makes me appreciate her even more. However, in my heart, I still cherish a thought. One day, I will buy Tana a phone myself. Not to drag her back to this noisy world, but to make the distance between us a little closer, so that on mornings like today, I don't have to guess what Tana is doing, but can hear her soft voice reply, "I'm making tea. What about you?" The city and the farm, two opposite rhythms of life, but they go together. I start the day with my laptop and work plans, while Tana starts with a sunny garden and the sound of birds chirping. That distance makes each meeting a longing. It teaches me that love is not necessarily about being together every second, but about moving towards a common rhythm. Even though each person is still in their own world, a new day begins. I sit in the city. Tana is on the farm. Two spaces, two rhythms of life, but between us there still exists an invisible connection. And I believe it is those mornings, simple but full of love, that quietly weave our love story. After finishing my work, I went to the market, planning to buy some new clothes for Henry. I still thought it was just a simple shopping trip, but unexpectedly, in the bustling crowd, I saw a familiar figure. Tana was also standing in front of the children's clothing counter. She was carefully choosing each shirt, her fingers gently stroking the fabric, as if to make sure Henry would feel most comfortable. That moment made me stop for a few seconds, just to admire. Then I walked over and called softly, "Are you also going to buy clothes for Henry?" Tana looked up, her eyes were surprised for a moment, then softened into a smile. "You too. The child is truly blessed, both of you taking care of him. We chose clothes together. Sometimes, she and I chose the same shirt." We both looked at each other and smiled awkwardly, but I felt strangely happy inside. When Tana was about to pay, I stopped her. "Let me take care of it. Just buy whatever Henry needs." She hesitated for a moment and then nodded slightly. I knew I would remember Tana's smile at that moment. While she was busy choosing a few more items, I quickly turned to a small stall. There, I saw a simple, light blue hair tie, a color I knew Tuna loved. I bought it, hid it in my pocket, and told myself I would give it to her on a surprise occasion. It was just a small gift, but it contained all the silent care in me. Leaving the market, my arms were full of clothes for Henry, but my heart felt light and warm. It turns out that sometimes happiness doesn't need to be something big, but simply sharing a normal morning with someone, but full of love. In the afternoon, the wind blew gently through the porch. The late afternoon sunlight spread into warm golden streaks on the brick floor. Henry was fast asleep in his room, leaving only to Anna and me on the quiet porch. We sat across from each other at the small wooden table. In front of us were 2 glasses of water, still slightly cool. Tuna tilted her head slightly, letting a few strands of hair fall onto her shoulders, so soft that I couldn't help but stare. I quietly reached into my pocket and took out a beige hair tie. Putting it on the table, I said softly, "I bought it for you. This color suits you very well." Tuna was stunned. Her eyes were slightly surprised and then softened. Her gaze seemed a bit confused. She picked up the string, fondling it in her hand. "Why do you remember? I like simple things like that." I smiled, stood up and walked around to the back. Before she could ask more, I gently gathered Tuna's soft hair, skillfully tying it up. Her hair swayed gently in the wind, and I could clearly hear each beat of my heart pounding in my chest. "Alex," her voice trembled, "if we take another step, I'm afraid we'll lose this piece." I gently placed my hand on her shoulder, leaned down and whispered, "I'm not afraid of change. What I'm most afraid of is losing you." Tuna turned around, her eyes sparkling in the evening light. She didn't say anything more, just held my hand tightly. In that grip, I clearly saw hesitation, anxiety, and the feelings she had kept hidden for so long. That afternoon, the wind was still gentle, the sun was still golden, the house behind was still quiet, Henry was still sleeping peacefully. But on the porch, between the 2 people, something had quietly changed, gently but surely. The afternoon fell, the last rays of the day slanted through the porch, dyeing the house with a warm yellow color. Henry slept soundly in his room, leaving the porch a rare silence. Tuna sat leaning against the chair, her hair tied neatly with a beige string, a few strands falling down to hug her gentle face. I unconsciously took out my phone and held it up. "What are you doing?" She was a little surprised, smiling. "I want to keep this afternoon, not because of the scene, but because of you." She bowed her head slightly, her face flushed in the sunlight, not saying anything more. The click sounded very soft, but to me it seemed to mark an eternal moment. I glanced at the screen. The photo appeared, but then put the phone away, because there was no image more beautiful than seeing her in real life. I silently admired it. For a while, my heart suddenly filled with love. All I wanted now was so simple, just the 2 of us, mother and child, and a peaceful home. They gave me a sense of belonging, something I thought I would never have got in that moment. I understood clearly, all the love in me now is only for my mother and me. They made me want to stop, want to nurture, want to become an indispensable part of this life. I stood up, telling Tuna that I had to go home. She was startled, her eyes slightly sad. "Are you really leaving?" I nodded, but instead of turning away immediately, I bent down, placing my hand on her shoulder. For a moment, I wanted to hold on to this moment, not letting it pass. "I will leave, but I promise to come back. Not because of the promise, but because this place has become my home." Tuna was stunned, her eyes sparkling under the evening light, her hand gently lifted up to her beige bun. Then she smiled, a fragile but full smile. I walked out the gate, turned around. She still stood there, silently watching, her eyes like an invisible string, holding my every step. In my heart, I knew, clearly, this feeling was no longer unfinished or hesitant. It had become an undeniable part, a gentle destiny that neither Tuna nor I wanted to lose. The sky that day gradually darkened, but in my heart, a light had just been lit, the light of love and a family that I longed to have.